Welcome to SOS Danza. This is the first episode of The Last Dance, a docu-film that tells the story of Mirko Gozzoli, a project where the SOS Danza team put a lot of effort to provide a great story for all the dancers of the world. And this project will be followed by many more projects that you can check and you will see sooner in our channel. And I invite you to subscribe and follow us in Instagram and Facebook. The main mission of this project is based on gratitude. A gratitude towards our dance teacher that helped us through our career. Through our career, we've been in touch with a lot of dance teachers, but only few of them have left us a great experience and a great memory. And these few teachers will be part of this great project. And what a better start than the story of Mirko Gozzoli, the last dance of Mirko Gozzoli. A storytelling that starts from the beginning of his life till the end of his dance career. I knew him since I was a teenager and he revolutionized my perspective towards the art of dance. And he transmitted me the curiosity for every step and every dance figures. An obsessive search for the right movement and a spectacular way to think and live the art of dance. And to see The Last Dance, you can do a bank transfer or 1,000 euros. I'm just kidding, no problem. And this will be a free documentary for all the dancers. The only thing that we ask is to subscribe to our channel, hit the bell button. It only takes 10 seconds and it's done. And now prepare yourself for The Last Dance of Mirko Gozzoli. Since he was a kid, he was a natural talent, and I will not see a guy dance like him ever again. Mirko is a great person and one of the greatest, first of all. He is the Maradona of dance, and I'm not exaggerating. Like we have Maradona in football, we have Mirko in the dance world. He is and he was a game changer, a great talent. A fantastic person that always believed in what he did, and a person that never cared about marks. He is crazy, he is stubborn, and he is whimsical. But he is a person that you can count on. Physically, he's capable of everything. He's active, he's positive, even in situations where people will give up. And this is something that makes him unique and the greatest. He never gives up and he never has a limit. He always accepts challenges and this makes him a champion. He always kept his principles and his humility, despite he became a legend. Good morning to the SOS Danza family and good morning Mirko. It's an honor to have you here since I'm a fan of you, a student and a friend of you, and I'm really happy to share with all the dancers of the world the story of Mirko Gozzoli. The pleasure is mine and thank you Massimo for this opportunity and thank you to SOS Danza. And I see that you post a lot of interesting things through social media. And that's why I've accepted this type of interview. Not just because we are friends for a long time, but also because you bring great contents about the art of the dance. Okay, so first of all, where you were born and what was the situation you grew up in? I was born in Lucca because my mother is from Lucca, so I'm 100% Tuscan. I was born in a humble family, a working family. We were living in a house for rent, and after we got kicked out, we made the demand to live in a public housing. And luckily we've been accepted, because if not, we were homeless. And this was when I was in elementary school in Cascine di Buti. And when I was in 5th grade, I started living in Buti, a town in the countryside of Pisa, that counts 3,000, 4,000 inhabitants. I was already dancing when I moved to Buti, because I have a brother older than me, 5 years older than me, that was already dancing in Cascine, in the school of the dance teacher Ciardi, Gianfranco and Loredana Ciardi. I started dancing because my mother, our mother, was a really passionate of dancing, even if at the beginning I wasn't really much into it. I was born in 1970, and in 1979 my mother brought me to a dance exhibition of Maestro Ciardi in a small town near Lucca, Colle di Compito. We saw this exhibition and I have to say that I didn't like it. And 1 week later, our mother signed us up to the dance school of Maestro Ciardi. The dance school was in a social club, and we were just a few kids, and Mirko was just 5 years old. But he was only watching, and I started dancing with a girl of this town, and I started making exhibition. I remember the first that started dancing was Stefano, and then Mirko, that it was actually only watching and just doing some steps. And I started dancing thanks to my parents and my brother. Around 1980, and my brother was 10 and I was 5. And I followed him, and at the beginning there was any competition, but just social competitions. In the summer, during festivals and exhibitions. So it wasn't like a sport, but just something, a time where you can have fun. So, what were your hobbies before dancing? Or you were so young when you started dancing, so it was your first actual sport? So, when I was a little kid, I was living in a small town, a really small town called Caccialupi. That means hunting wolves, so the name says it all. And when I was saying that it was a small town, I'm saying that we were just 20 people, 20 inhabitants. And so my best friend was my brother that taught me everything. Like go to the farm and take or rob the eggs from the chickens, or playing football one versus one. And since he was older, he always beat me. So we spent the days trying to find amusement, and since there was this gap, this age gap of 5 years, we always spent the time fighting each other. They always being great kids and great guys, and Stefano was actually better, and Mirko was more of a bad boy. So the fun was searching mushrooms and catching salamanders and make fun of our poor grandmother. However, it wasn't easy childhood, because I'm not ashamed to say it, but we didn't have water in our house. We were out of the world. And growing up with my brother helped me a lot, because I became more mature at a young age. And I was smarter, but we always say that the second brother, the younger brother, is better, but it is my older brother that helped me a lot and teach me a lot of things. So in my entire life, I always had this thing to put myself against someone way older and way stronger than me. So it helped me a lot for my life and also to achieve my goals. And what about your parents? What was the relationship with them? I have to say I have never been affectionate to my parents. I've always have this thing that I want to leave my house. Of course, I had a better relationship with my mother, but I always like to be on my own. So you were saying that you start dancing thanks to your brother. Uh, who were your first teachers, and were you shy about dancing because it was more like a feminine thing and then something for a guy? So I started dancing, getting into dance because at the end of the group lessons, because at the time there was no private lesson, just group lessons, and they let the parents in to see the lesson, to see the work, and the other children to dance like the hit of the moment. Right. So at that time there was the hit of Albano e Romina, Il ballo del qua qua, and I start dancing with the song. And so he was always with his brother, and when we put the ballo del qua qua, he was always there dancing and having fun. It was to have fun, but also to keep my competitive spirit, because I was trying to make the right steps and keep the right movement and the right rhythm. And after, I remember I had this occasion to dance with this girl, and my parents were okay. The first one was dancing, and the second one same. And it was already Alessia. No, it was a girl from Pistoia. Her name was Manila Ormi. And his uncle was already dancing, and she was a little younger than me, 1 year or 2 years older, and we started dancing. So at the beginning it was more like my parents pushed me to do it, but also because I always copied my brother. So, and I remember the first competitions, because yes, Ballo del Qua Qua, yes, it's fine, but I remember the slow waltz, tango, and at that time there was no slow fox, so there was only Vienna's waltz and quick step. And it was open choreography, so there was no class like B, C, or A. And the teacher taught us choreography, and we just danced. And we were a lot of kids in the competition, and I got eliminated at the first round because I was dancing out of rhythm. The main problem was that Mirko couldn't keep the rhythm, so in the first competitions he was eliminated at the first round or placed at the last place. And it was always Stefano that kept the rhythm for Mirko. He was a playful child, and I remember once there was a competition in Pisa, and at the time he was dancing both Latin American dance and standard dance, and he won a competition of Latin American dance. They were dressed all in white, and at the time of the award ceremony we couldn't find Mirko because he was playing outside in the grass, and his white dress had become green. And of course Maestro Charlie wasn't happy about it. In his first competition there was a lot of competitors. They were about 140, 150 dance couples, and the level was really high. They were 9, 10 years old, and he was actually 7, but I told that he was 8, so he could dance. I couldn't keep the rhythm, both in my first competition and in the second competition, so that's why I was eliminated at the first round. And at that time you were treated more like a number, and in the dance schools there was a lot of seriousness and stiffness. So the dance teacher didn't treat you like a client, because nowadays you are more treated like a client than a student. At the time you were treated like a student, so you were yelled at if you didn't do the right thing. I remember I often threw my head down, then they pulled my hair to keep the head in the right position. And sometimes I left the dance lesson crying. The dance school was more like a military barracks, because we were obliged to use a form of courtesy towards our dance teachers. We couldn't speak when they were teaching, and we had no say in the matter of competitions or the dance routine or whatsoever. Many times we were pulled by the air, or we were forced to be in the right position, and we had a genuine terror. And sometimes we invented excuses to skip the dance lessons and begging our mother not to go. But at the end, this behavior from our dance teachers was just for our good. I remember an anecdote when we had an exhibition in Pescia, in an hotel in Pescia, and we were about 25 dance couples. And we were setting up a synchro Vienna's waltz choreography. And we started trying this choreography at 10 a.m. And we were supposed to finish at 1 p.m. because then at 10 p.m. we had the actual exhibition. But at the end, we ended up trying at 8 p.m. So we got home, just had a shower, and we got back to do the exhibition. That it went well. And the main anecdote about this situation was that Mirko ended up finishing the dance rehearsal way before 8 p.m. Because he got annoyed by the fact that he couldn't do the right thing, and he kicked Maestro Ciardi and disappeared. However, at the end, he was found and he did the exhibition, but everyone was shocked about his behavior towards Maestro Ciardi. At that time, the parents were used to say that the teacher was always right. And at my third competition, Maestro Ciardi told me that if I had done something wrong, he would have eaten my ear. I told him, hey, you're dancing today. If you get eliminated, I will eat your ear. I said it to him maliciously so that he could understand. And there is the video recording of that competition, and they were calling the numbers of the couple that move on to the next round, and my number wasn't called, and they framed me at the exact moment when I covered my ears. And I said, I'm screwed, my Maestro Ciardi will hit my ear. And then I had my fourth competition, that was the Italian Championship, and I came in first place. So there was a big difference between my third and fourth competition, and everyone was actually surprised by this result because I used to get eliminated at first round, and I came in first place at the Italian Championship. See Mirko dance, it's a joy to behold, but you should have seen him when he was a kid. He had a delicacy, the way he danced, it was a natural talent. It makes me a little nostalgic thinking about this. So you started dancing when you were a kid, a teenager, and how much it affected the way you lived your teenage life? Well, during my teenage years, as I said, I moved from a small town of 15 inhabitants to a town of 3,000 inhabitants. So I start making new friends. I had a company of friends. And when I said I was dancing, I was made fun of for this because dance was more like for women. And if you were a man who danced, you were labeled as gay. So if I wasn't available to hang out with my friends because of dance, I preferred not to say that I had dance training because I didn't want to be made fun of. And meanwhile, I was also practicing football. That is a way more physical sport than dance, and the teams were only made up of males, even if now there is women's football. And when I had to tell to my football coach that I wasn't available on Sunday because of a dance competition, I was also made fun of by him. And I was actually good at playing football, but I had more fun dancing than playing football. And there was less dance training, so, times have changed. It is now faster, and the way we dance now, it's different than before. But we had more fun. There was a different atmosphere comparing to a football pitch, to a tennis pitch, to a swimming pool, and you had the chance to be with your friends. And there was something innovative, that it was dancing with a girl or a boy on the contrary. And you were ashamed to get close to the other person, and of course, especially for the position, the body contact, and for some dance figures. Nowadays, kids are less shy and they learn faster, and they see that they can have a future in the world dance. They can have an actual career. At my days, we only practice dance for a hobby. And it should be like that because a lot of people take this sport too seriously and it can be toxic. Anyway, I just said my peers made fun of me because they knew I started dancing and I was ashamed of it. But at the same time, when I was there, when I was dancing, I liked it a lot. And talking about love, you have your first love in dancing or it was outside of the world of dance? Because, a lot of kids, they found their first love in the partner because they are always together. Well, no, I had my first loves during elementary school, middle school. Then I had some relationships in the world of dance. And then traveling the world because you find new cultures and you met new people, new girls, and. But I actually had my first real love in the world of dance. And I danced with Manila, my first dance partner, till I was 11, 12. And then I decided to take a break for 2 years because, I moved from a really small town to a town of 3,000 people and, you get new friends. And at that time, I had other interests. Then I started dance again, and my second dance partner was Alessia Betti, and I danced with her for 20 years. And I actually consider myself lucky because I had only 3 dance partners, and it was Manila, Alessia, and Edita. The first time that we met, we were just kids, and we were in the same dance school. And I started dancing because he was looking for a dance partner. Even if at first we didn't dance together, but I had this memory, this strange memory that when we started dancing, it was pretty normal, but then we understood that we were going in the right way. Well, Mirko, as a kid, I had to say he was terrible. Because we all know that Mirko doesn't like to lose. So everything was a challenge. For him, it was a challenge with me, a challenge with dance, and a challenge with the dance teachers. And I think he still has this fire in him, even if he's not a kid anymore. And I repeat, I had a lot of luck for having just 3 dance partners, because in the contrary, my brother had a lot of bad luck. He changed many dance partners because of economic situations, or because his dance partner didn't want to dance anymore, or there was the problem of the height difference. I had also this problem with Alessia because he grew up earlier than me, so she was taller and we almost stopped dancing together. But then, like we all know, boys grew up later, so it was no longer a problem. And so, when did you start thinking that you could make a career out of dance? And did this affect your school years when you were older, during high school or university? Did you went to university? I remember something. Yes, well, later I will tell you my university experience. Yeah, I remember something. I started thinking that I could make a career out of dance when I got selected for the World Championship in the youth category. I got selected because of my talent, and in sport, the talent is a huge factor. But also because I had people that led me on the right path. And my family pushed me to improve myself because they invested in me, regardless of whether it was my future or not. And when I was 17, 18, that I got selected with Alessia to dance in the World Championship in Ukraine, and I placed 4th, I started thinking if this could be my future or not, because you get to a point that either you continue or you stop. I went to an art institute in Lucca and I was around 17. And at that time I was still playing football, meanwhile I was dancing. So it was really difficult to organize my life. And sometimes I had to decide whether to go to a football game or to a dance competition. So it was a difficult time, both physically and mentally, because I had to take time to decide which one of the 2 paths was the better for me. Then in dance I was in Amatoria 1 and I placed second to the Italian Championship, and I moved up to the Amatoria S. And since I was doing well, I realized that this was my sport. Also because in dance I was already a youth finalist in the World Championship, and in football I was just playing on amateur level. So from that moment I decided to focus myself on dancing, but also on school, not because I had interest on studying, but because it kept me away from the military service, which made you lose 11-12 months of training. I had to do it anyway for 10 months, but I signed to do the conscientious objector, so the civil service, and I got sent to Laiatico, that is in the Pisa area. And an anecdote was that I used to take children to the bus, and among them there was also the grandchildren of Andrea Bocelli, the singer. I have to say that in these 10 months I didn't train a lot, but I trained myself in my mind. Because when I was doing the civil services, I was there thinking about dance. Maybe people think that training the mind is not helpful, but it helped me a lot to improve myself. Because I went over the action and my routine, and I was thinking how to improve myself every day. And you must keep your head on your shoulders, because if you only train physically, it's not enough. You have to do both if you want to improve yourself. So when we think of Mirko, we always think of a great career without any bad times. But were there times, like when you moved from the youth to the amateur league, that you were about to give up? Well, as I said, the first problem to solve was to understand if I'd like to dance and if I was willing to build a career out of it. Of course, I had a lot of defeats during my career, but if you want to be successful, you have to learn from these defeats because they push you to improve yourself. My worst period was around 1995, 1996, and at that time I was already an amateur finalist in Italy. But internationally, I was around the quarterfinals and semifinals. And during that period, I started taking dance lessons from other dance teachers to increase my knowledge and to learn new figures and steps for my physical characteristics. So the first time that we met him, he was moving from the junior to the amateur category. And I remember that in the quick step, he kept putting the heel after the chassé. And even nowadays, I always remind him of this thing. But well, it has come a long way since then. At that time, a lot of athletes went to England to study dance, like Fabio Selmi and Michele Bonsignori. But Mirko was still in school, so he couldn't go to England. So while the others were in England, Mirko came to study here. And I remember telling Fabio this guy has incredible potential, and indeed he proven it. And at that time, I realized that I was getting results with a dance purely focused on physical performance. So I started thinking that it seems strange to me that I have to work so hard to do a certain action. There must be another way. I have to thank Mirko and my husband because during the first dance lessons with Peter Eggleton, I remember I told my husband we're going to lose all our clients because it wasn't easy for us either to enter in this dimension. But as I said, I have to thank Mirko that he believed, together with my husband, in this incredible dance teacher. And I believe that the dance couple who best interpreted Peter Eggleton's style were Mirko and Alessia. I know it wasn't easy at first because Mirko had a simpler technique than Peter's, but he had a better physical performance. Mirko believed in Peter Eggleton, and it was really hard to understand his dance lessons. Not all the people liked his teaching because he was teaching a style that here in Italy was considered hard to understand. In that period, me and Mirko, we were looking for everything that could be physical. And I think it was the most difficult time, but also the most important one. Because thanks to the stubbornness of Mirko, there was always trying to reach his goal, and me that I always support him in his decisions. And thanks to Fabio that had some sweetness to Mirko's style, we found the perfect balance. So I think that without that period we couldn't reach our dance style. And it also helped us gain confidence to reach our goals. So I started following some advice from dance teachers to find the right technique, where my physical effort was balanced to the proper technique. And thanks to this, I managed to reduce the waste of energy to do certain actions. But in order to do this, I had to put aside the performance and I had to concentrate on the technical gesture. And in that moment, my results got worse. So I started thinking, am I doing the right thing? I was Mirko and Michele Bonsignori's dance teacher, and I was pretty young when I started teaching. I was around 21, 22 years old, and I had these two promising dance couples already competing at high levels. But of course, I had also my dance teacher, Giancarlo Barbieri, and both Mirko and Michele, especially Mirko, was struggling because some of the teaching that I was giving to Mirko were different than the ones Maestro Barbieri was giving us. But I decided to insist to teach Mirko because the mixture between my teaching and those of Maestro Barbieri were the perfect solution for Mirko. We started to introduce Mirko and Alessia to other dance teachers, especially in England. But they started hearing new voices, new methods, even if the goal was the same. And since they were used to just have a few dance teachers, when they came back, they had a hard time to put those teaching into practice. So if the night before we left them all straight, the day after when they came to practice, they were, well, I used to say boneless. I was feeling and I was telling myself, if I go back to what I did, maybe I can reach the semifinals, but not the finals. Because in the semifinals I have to do 5 dances, but after the tango I'm already done. Maybe I can get a good score in the slow waltz and the tango, but I still have 3 dances left. So in that period I had a decline. Because in Blackpool, the year before I almost entered in the semifinals, and the year after I got eliminated before entering in the last 48. I remember an anecdote. We were in Blackpool and he got eliminated very earlier in the competition, and he was supposed to get to the podium. And after he got eliminated, I told him, "What the hell are you doing?" I did not use hell, but another word that I won't say now, but it makes the idea. So I told him, "What the hell are you doing?" And he told me, well, Giancarlo told me that if I want to perform well, I don't have to struggle. And I have to say that I never saw Mirko dance bad like that time. But then the year after, it took him a whole year to understand, he started doing better. Me and Simona are really proud of this work. This is the best video we've made so far. Don't forget to follow SOS Danza if you don't want to lose the next part of The Last Dance.
Scegliete consapevolmente, scegliete SOS Danza.